I am excited about my next guest. This person I came into contact with about a few years ago through a dear friend of mine. I didn't realize that she had such royalty in her family. And before I get into this interview or this conversation with this wonderful gentleman, this very talented young man, I want to tell you a little bit about his mission for his business. Okay, check this out. And it reads, our mission here at CogNation is to educate, encourage, and empower. We want you to be cognitive and make the conscious choice to not surrender the power that is rightfully yours. No longer will the information be hidden. It will be presented with each fashion statement. Each one, teach one, reach many. I absolutely love that. Without further ado, welcome to the show, Chris Wells.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
I love
Blessed to be here.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you. I'm happy to have you. So, Chris, tell me a little bit about who you are.
I would say I'm a father, a lover of many things, music, good writing, good food, and just a lover of life.
Yeah.
My company is clothing line is CogNation, which essentially is a play off the word cognitive, to be conscious, to be aware of your surroundings. If I were to just jump right in and kind of explain, I grew up in the age where there was a saying that says, how do you hide information from a Black man? And the answer to that age-old riddle didn't sit well with me. So how do you hide information from a Black man? You put it in a book. That didn't sit well with me then, and it doesn't sit well with me now. But unfortunately, it has some truth to it, as do most sayings that have gone on for years and years and years. There's a reason, there's a method to the madness as to why they came about. If I were to go back and kind of sort of age myself, I remember going into the library where you have to pull out the card and go find the book and go through all of these things way prior to the internet. And it was a task at that particular time to find out so much information in regards to our history. I remember a man telling me that one of the problems with Black people is that we didn't have role models. Most of our role models at that particular time, me coming from the inner city, was either an athlete, the drug dealer, or a pimp, or if you happen to be blessed to know someone in the church or something other than that. But other than that, there was not much variety. So therefore, we cling to what we knew. And as I grew older, I took a couple of courses in college, and I learned a few things. And as I began to get older, I had kids of my own. And one of the eye-opening things was we moved to Edinburgh, Texas. And my kids would come home with different information that they covered in school. And it was pretty much about the Mexican history. So that began me to think and kind of sort of get upset, for lack of a better term, to the fact that why wasn't these things taught in my kids' schools about their history, and why wasn't it taught when I was going to school? I'm originally from New York. So therefore, none of the times that I've gone to school, essentially the only thing that they taught us in school was about Martin Luther King, maybe Harriet Tubman, and Rosa Parks. That might be all that they touched on. None of the none of the details that we've contributed to America being America. You know, it's a funny thing because as I grew and traveled the world, because I'm kind of sort of a gypsy. I probably moved maybe, I don't know, 20 times before I even graduated from high school. My mother was a single mother, so she did what she could. So we moved around a lot. But in doing that, I had the opportunity to meet a lot of different people, to see how they did things and how they went about things, and how some of the information that they had to provide, and so forth, and the inspirations that they gave. I believe it takes a village to raise a child, and each individual in that village allows you to obtain certain things that you might not have received before, that you can't receive necessarily from your mother or your father, because it's impossible for those individuals to teach you everything that they know. They only can teach you based on the situation, which allows certain information to come to the forefront of their brain and them to relay it to you. They can't teach you everything, but those extra individuals can allow you to. But long story short, I realized that Black people, African Americans, aren't the only ones that have been manipulated, haven't been the only ones who've been left out in the dark. And there's one phrase that sticks with me is, knowledge is power. Now, if knowledge is power, why would they tell you the truth? Why would they give you all of the information? We talk about people telling the truth and telling a lie. Well, if when you tell the truth, you relinquish some of that power. So if you're dealing with a bunch of individuals who are trying to keep you powerless, you can understand the method to their madness. So with that being said, as time goes on, I've learned that we have to take control of that. Even recently, they just made Juneteenth a holiday, but how many non-African Americans or African Americans knew about it prior to? So it's very important that we put the information out there, which is the reason for my mantra: each one teach one, reach many. Because I truly believe the more information you have will dictate the choices that you make. When you feel you have nothing to lose, then you're bound to do anything. You're bound to risk anything, and you also are probably guaranteed to give up when you should push forward. So that's essentially the method to my madness and the reasoning behind my clothing line. I feel that I want to educate individuals, African American and non-African American, because if we did not have those lies and those false truths pushed out there, what kind of relationships could we have? There's friendships out there, there's business partners out there that could develop, but have not been developed because of the separation. The one of the things that you hear these internet trolls saying these various things to justify them of separation, saying there's so much blacks killing blacks. That is true, but anybody you live around are usually going to be the individuals that you going to attack. So it's amazing how you take certain information and you use it towards the benefit of separation. But at the end of the day, we all bleed. We all have to put our pants one at a time. So we all more closer than we realize, and we need to unite and benefit from the unity. And that's kind of sort of the method behind CogNation. I want everyone to be aware of the situation and understand it's a conscious choice that is needed to push beyond what has been pushed on us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you said that so eloquently. And it's interesting that you said that your upbringing, how you were raised, and the lack of education about Black history. And you saw the same thing being repeated with your children. And even from one state to another, it wasn't any different. It was just very limited of what was taught us in school. And that is so true. You said Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King. It's the same thing over and over, but there's so much more history, so much more. And another
Exactly.
interesting thing you said was the fact that the powers that be, if they keep us in the dark and they don't educate us to everything that we need to know, then they can always be over us. They can have power over us.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I love that. I love that you, I'm sure you instilled that into your children. And it kind of like sparked that fire that ignited. And out of that came CogNation. Out of that came your
Yes.
mantra. Out of that came your mission statement, encourage, empower. And it's all about the consciousness. So when did you first begin to actually design clothing?
Well, I started out around in I would say 2017.
Hmm.
Um, I had the idea, and I went through a few name changes. I think I started out with concepts, because I wanted to. I was kind of sort of at the time I was testing my nieces and nephews on certain inventions, Black inventions, and they did not even understand or even wasn't aware of some of the things that they used on a daily basis as to our contributions to the world. So it started out with concepts, and then it went to eduware, and then the final um, one was CogNation. And I would say that started out in 2018. I started designing some shirts with some information on it for my sons, and they began to wear them, and other individuals, non-African Americans, were reading them, because it's funny. As I stated earlier, it says, "How do you hide information from a Black man? You put it in the book." But I realized along this process, even though it's the internet and some of that information is freely available, we're so far beyond that they don't have to hide the information anymore. It's to the point to where people's attitude or people's willingness to learn is not there. So even though
Wow.
the information is in front of them, you have to punch in the computer to even search for that information. So the desire is not there. But
Mm.
I've learned people are quick to read your T-shirt.
Excellent.
Standing
You're
at a bus
right.
stop,
You're
you
right.
know, uh, going to school, people will read your shirt. So therefore, that was a quick and easy way I've learned to kind of sort of pass on some of that information, to kind of sort of let us know that we all have things to look up to, and we need to inspire to do greatness.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so you said that you kind of started back in 2017, 2018 with your family and letting the message be on the shirts. And I love that because I have a few pieces of Chris's clothing. You guys, you have to tap into this. I do. I love the messages on the clothing, and he's so unique with how he does it. Tell me a little bit more about the pieces that you've come up with and you've designed in the past couple of years.
Well, one of the things that I've come up with was essentially I do a lot of warning labels,
Mhm.
because information and the truth is sometimes um, can get you in trouble, especially if they don't want you to have that information. Um,
Right.
so therefore, there's warning labels, because your attitude changes once you receive different information. If you're in the darkness, then you can go with the flow. But once you know the information, your situation has changed. I truly believe God looks at you differently. He judges you differently based on the information that you have. Um, and I deal with a lot of puzzle pieces. I believe a lot of our information is spread across everything between the lies and so forth. But a lot of times, even when an author writes a book,
Mhm.
the author's job is to dictate what you know, how you feel about what you know, and what you take away. So essentially what I'm saying is, you not only do you have to listen to the information and read the lines, but you also have to read between the lines, because everything, every detail is not going to be given to you. Sometimes we need to do extra research and kind of sort of analyze the information that's given to us, such as, why are you telling me this? What is your purpose for giving me this information? And what are you trying to say? So that's where the puzzle pieces come in at. I truly believe that we need to do our due diligence to make sure that we receive that information and we pass it along to other individuals. So that's kind of sort of the inspiration behind my clothing line. And I try to tap into our history as far as what we've done. To be more specific, I have the playing cards. Essentially, I've taken 4 queens and I've taken 4 kings, and I've made the king of spades, king of diamonds, king of hearts, and king of clubs, and the same thing for the queens. And essentially, it has one of them has a couple of quotes from Maya Angelou, just to inspire and to give us hope, to let us know we all want to say that we're kings and we're queens, but essentially you have to move with grace if you are that king. I mean, if you are that queen, okay? And if you are that king, you need to understand that the game is set up for your demise. So move accordingly. So these are the type of things that I want to inspire and let us know, because we're always wondering why others won't treat us a certain way, or others won't do us a certain way, or when the cops pull us over, or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, I want us to stop expecting others to do and we do ourselves, because at the end of the day, we are held responsible for our families and to come home safely, or to whatever the situation is. So yes, I know that they're wrong. Yes, they shouldn't do this. You're absolutely right. There's no argument with me with that. But at the end of the day, you want to be there for you and yours. So that's kind of sort of the message that I want to put out there.
That is amazing. Chris, I love it. I love it. And the t-shirt idea of putting a message on the t-shirt, and the puzzle pieces and the queen and the king, they all have messages and they're a little different, but the message is still there. It's all about empowering, educating, strengthening your mind, open your mind to realize that you're more than just substance.
Exactly.
You have an existence here and you need to thrive, not just live. And I just love what you're doing. What would you say is an interesting story in your journey so far, in terms of your designing and what you have created on your website, and when you're doing your work? What would you say is an interesting story?
I would say just how deep the rabbit hole goes. I have one of my designs. I know you see a lot of people, and I believe it was one of the ones that you purchased. It's news articles.
Oh yeah,
I essentially went and searched for various news articles, and in me creating that particular line, that design, I visited maybe about 5 or 6 different libraries. And I started out doing it when I was in Texas, and I just saved those pictures and kind of try to accumulate a bunch of news articles, because you've seen the design before, because it's not a new type of design. But when you look at others' newspaper article clothing, it's just nothing. It's not really a news article. It just looks like a news article. And when you read it, it really doesn't say anything. But I wanted to put our history literally on our backs, kind of sort of a reminder of the wearer and other individuals who may see it, because some people just don't believe ish stinks. They have to be proven. You know,
Right.
you hear some people say that, you didn't go through that much, stop doing, oh, here we go again, and so forth. But same things that were happening then are happening now. But my point is, I traveled and searched these various different libraries, and as I'm going through their archives, there's a lot of information that's not there.
Wow.
I mean, mainstream information literally is not there. So my point to you is that is the ploy. And I'm realizing just how deep the rabbit hole goes, because I remember years ago, even before I had kids, I was coming home from school, and I used to go to school in Roosevelt Junior Senior High School. And I was coming home, and a newscaster came up to me. He was like, excuse me, sir, can I talk to you for a second? Can I talk to you for a second? Did you hear about what's going on with Roosevelt Junior Senior High School? And can we ask you a couple of questions? So I answered their questions. And in doing so, there was a situation where the state was about to take over the school, and they were presenting it as that there were animals in the school and things were crazy and so forth. And what did I have to say about it? Long story short, I began to talk about the principal there, Dean Smith, and how it used to be PTA back in the days. And, if you had a situation, the teachers would come to your home. And, this was probably before, when teachers really wanted to teach, it wasn't a good job to where you couldn't get fired from, and so forth. But long story short, I explained to them what expires, how it used to be, and the parents are getting younger, and all these things, and we need to come together and so forth. So as I come home, I'm expecting to see myself on the news. But instead of seeing my interview, they have a bunch of kids there talking about, oh yeah, they be wilding out, oh, they be losing it, oh, blah, 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 blah. So my point is, one side, the news is not telling you the information because it gets cut off at a certain point. Each area dictates what information comes to you, what they allow to filter through. And what they allow to filter through, they're controlling. They're making sure you get this segment as opposed to this segment, therefore leading the world to come to an assumption or a realization that these people are this way, because that's what they portray to you. So to go back to what I originally said, Black folks aren't the only ones who have been brainwashed, have been misled, and so forth. But that's what the design is, to cut you off from the information, to let you to let others know that you're this, you're that, or whatever the case may be. But once again, the rabbit hole runs deep. They're really controlling this information. But now, at this point, we have to show some desire to even want the information. So my goal is to present the information, and hopefully each individual will be inspired to dig a little deeper.
I'm inspired, and I'm sure once CogNation is fully blown, I mean, I want this to go mega big, because the clothing is dope. Number one, it's dope. The
Thank you.
styles are awesome. I love it. I love the material. It's not inexpensive. It's like well thought out, and it's, when you wear it, it's going to last. It's
Right.
quality material. I mean, I've seen your work. I've seen your clothing. I've seen so many different designs. And I can say for myself that it is pure quality. And the messages and how much you care, you can tell because you poured into your designs. And the message is there. The message is so deep. And if you guys don't know anything else, believe this brother is for real. He's for real about what he's doing. And it's so clever how you're getting the message out there to these young people, because you're putting it on the clothing. Because, like you said before, people will read a t-shirt, and young people, they're all about the design, and your designs are dope. So they're going to be trendy. They're going to be happening, but the message is more significant. And I'm so happy that they'll get an opportunity to read the shirt, like the newspaper shirt or the newspaper dress, and the message, a subtle message is there, like be empowered, be proud of who you are, think about it, read about it, do your own education, get a life. There's so
Definitely.
much more because they're trying to control us, and you can't let that happen. We are proud people, we are educated people, we are smart people, and we need to realize that. And the younger generation needs to embrace that even more so. And that's why what you're doing with your designs is so magnificent and it's so wonderful. And I just really wanted to have you in the show because this is just so phenomenal what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I
Thank
wanted
you.
to ask you, quite welcome. I wanted to ask you a couple more questions. Like, if you could say that one person or something was inspirational to you, who would that person be, or what would that, or maybe it's a design, another designer, who would you say that person or that thing would be?
I would say inspirational FUBU, for us by us. Um, I thought that was a very unique idea
Mhm.
at the time, and I felt it was something great for us. And the reason being is because African Americans, we push everything: music, uh, fashion, style, you name it. We're the ones that's pushing it forward. So, with that being said, we should be the ones benefiting from it. Um, and I felt FUBU was one of those things that allowed us to be proud and look at, be inspired by saying, these guys can do it. Why can't I? I mean, in the Black community, you see all of these brand names. You go to schools, everyone's looking. And I know they did it when I was coming up. Everybody wants to see the label. Everybody wants to see the tag. Everybody wants to know who's that. Where did you get that from? And my point is, we're supporting all of these individuals. And I'm not too sure we even understand or grasp the concept of supporting someone. When you buy someone's stuff, you essentially are supporting them. Now, hypothetically speaking, what if their goal is to kill off all Black people?
Wow.
You're supporting that. You're
Yeah.
buying the weapons, you're buying the fuel, you're buying all of these things just to bear their brand. So it's important
Wow.
that we know exactly who we are supporting. Are you down for their cause? And I felt FUBU was a great inspiration for me because essentially I want to have different basketball games and give back to the community. Excuse me, give back
Mhm.
to the community because I don't believe that we invest in those that invest in us,
Hmm.
and we need to start doing that. Some of these big name brands, they don't care about you.
Right.
They support a lot of apartheid. They support a lot of things that is detrimental to you and I. But still, we run out with our hard-earned money and we spend it on them. The Black dollar stays in a community. What was it? I think it's white people. No, is it? It's Chinese people and Asian, excuse me, and I want to say white people. It
Hmm.
stays in what, 16, 12 days or something
Hmm.
like that. Ours
Right.
stay less than 8 hours.
Right. That's crazy.
But we're running to give them our money and none of it comes back to us. We don't get no community centers, we don't get no, better schools, we don't get no better education, we don't get anything from these things. And
So true.
we're just giving it away. So that's essentially I like FUBU because it was a community thing. It was some young guys that came together and made it happen in their
True.
own community. And from what I understand, they're still giving back.
Exactly. You're so right. You're so right. People are like, as they say, label whores. You know what I mean? It's And so get a positive one. And you're right, I agree. FUBU was the truth, and I think they're still doing a lot. You don't hear about them as much, but they're still there and they're still doing a lot as far as giving back. That is
Right.
so true. And you are too in what you're doing. In
I'm
your
trying.
way, you're all what you already are. You already are. What are you currently working on? Any new projects coming down the pipeline?
Yes, I have a couple of new things. I have this puzzle dress that basically talks about uh the the uh the parts. The whole is greater than the sum of its parts, but the whole would have no value without each part. Um,
Yes.
so so kind of sort of get in where you fit in. And it basically says, sometimes each individual feels out of place, doesn't feel they fit in. But you have to, wherever God inspires you to be, whatever He has blessed you to get there, be there, because at the end of the day, your gifts are present, and you don't want to go back to Him with an unopened present.
All right.
So
Yes.
you want to make
Yes.
sure you use those gifts that He has given you and get in where you fit in. Um, I have some some major quotes. I have this new design that I'm working on. It's a men's hoodie, and it's essentially about reprogramming yourself to see it for what it truly is. There's a quote I can't remember off the top of my head, but it basically says not only do we have to save individual, but we need to work on the society as a whole, and it starts with each individual. And we
Oh,
need
I
to
love it.
reprogram. We need to reprogram ourselves on helping each other. Because a lot of times in the Black community, we're more forgiving to others. Okay, meaning to others. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we're more critical of ourselves. We're killing each other, stepping on your shoe, or in a neighborhood, or we don't talk to family members for years upon years. But this
Yeah.
individual, because we're getting a check, we figure it's more value added to forgive them and forgive them. I'm amazed at how we give our best selves to the job and give ourselves, our family, little snippets of ourselves.
Yes.
But that's kind of sort of the reprogramming that I truly believe that we need to go through. We need to stop waiting for other individuals to do things for us and do it for ourselves, because power is with the people.
You said that. That is so true. The power is with the people. Now, your clothing, it's for young adults, children, women, and men. And you have plus sizes, right?
Yes,
So
everybody's included.
everyone is included. I love it. So, yes. Now, tell me, what social media are we able to locate you with? And I know you have a website. So tell us the website.
Yes, my website is CogNation Modus, CogNation .com. And I have a Facebook, which is CogNation. I'm sure you can find me on Facebook. And I also have a Twitter account, I believe. I'm new to the social media, so
Right.
I,
But
I
the web page, the website is major because my listeners can go there and order whatever piece of clothing. And you have jeans, you have hoodies, you have t-shirts, you have dresses, and you have them in every different style. Everything that he has mentioned here on the show today is available on the website. And you have to peruse through the website yourself, and you will find something. And what I like about it, you can get matching outfits. A
yes,
couple, you want to dress alike. And I know a lot of you out there do that. You want to dress alike. You have that option in t-shirts, hoodies, jean outfits. And these clothes are so very unique. As Chris said himself, you may see something similar, but you won't see something as wonderful and as creative as his designs are on CogNation. Tell us that website again.
It's CogNation Modus, CogNationModus.com.
Awesome. And Chris Wells is the designer, owner, beginner, ender, whatever the case may be.
Yes.
He's the man. He's the man. He's the man. These designs were all Chris. Chris, now we're getting down to the end of the show. And this segment of the show is called Backward. And this is where I ask my guests to leave some parting words of encouragement for other people out there or budding designers that want to do the same thing as you are doing in terms of creating their own unique designs, getting a website up and running. What would you offer them?
Do it.
Oh.
Just do it. Part of my issue was, number one, procrastination. You don't want to procrastinate, and doubt. You don't know if people would like it. You don't know if people will accept it. You don't know, but do it. As I alluded to before, God has impressed upon you to do certain things. He's given you the gift. You don't want to give him back his present unwrapped. You want to make sure that you leave your mark. As I also talked about, puzzle pieces, get in where you fit in. You want to make sure that you inspire those that come behind you. What are you going to do with your hash? We're born this day, we die this day. But what you do with your hash makes the difference. You want to make sure that you do your best. You want to make sure you put your best foot forward. You want to make sure that you just do it. And that's the only way it can get done. You have to do it. You can't wait for anyone. You can't delay. My problem that this should have been done a long time ago, but I kept telling myself, I'll wait. And sometimes you can wait too long and it never happens. But I would say, do it, keep doing it, and do it until it gets done, and let the chips fall where it may. And that's what I would say to everyone. If you have a goal, if you have a mission, if you have something that you want to do, find a way to get it done.
Absolutely. Find a way to get it done. And like you said, you could have done this years ago, because as talented as you are, I know that you could have, but it's never too late. It's never,
Exactly.
ever too late unless you're
Exactly.
not breathing. And
Exactly.
I will say to each and every one again, all my listeners, please go to CogNation, go onto the website. You will be amazed at these unique pieces and order. Chris,
Yes.
Chris, because I am too. Chris Wells, CogNation designer. Thank you so much. You're a philosopher as well. Thank you so much for dropping your wisdom here with me today. For my listeners, it has been a genuine pleasure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I wish you the best.
Thank you very much for having me. And I look forward to all the business. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
yes, exactly.